Hi, my name is Joseph Parker, WBO champion of the world, and you're watching Sporting Icons.
David Higgins has said that Eddie Hearn is making a grave mistake in feeding Anthony Joshua to Joseph Parker. And this is what David Higgins had to say. Eddie Hearn is making a grave mistake feeding AJ to Joseph Parker. If AJ is a golden goose, I would liken it to Hearn sacrificing his glass goose. We've met somewhere between 30 and 35%. Eddie Hearn has sent me a contract based on the Vladimir Klitschko contract. That was David Higgins' statement. So Eddie Hearn is making a grave mistake feeding AJ to Joseph Parker. Now, I know that David Higgins is saying this to try and play some kind of mind games and help promote the fight and maybe try and cast a seed of doubt in Eddie Hearn or especially Anthony Joshua's mind about beating Joseph Parker. We haven't seen the best of Joseph Parker yet, and I'm one of those that believe we haven't, and we may well see that against Anthony Joshua. But will that be enough to beat Joshua? We'll have to wait and see on March 31st or thereabouts, depending on what day exactly it's going to be. I don't think that Eddie Hearn sees it this way at all, and I'm pretty sure AJ doesn't see this as way at all. I think that both of them find the war of words that David Higgins is saying to be pretty much funny more than anything else. And David Higgins is coming across as a bit of a penis. Let's be honest about it. I think he's a nice guy. He's kind of funny, really, when he isn't trying to do his trash talking. But David Higgins, him trash talking, it doesn't suit him. You know, he's a tiny little man. It just don't suit him. He comes across as more annoying than anything else. But either way, he's doing what he needs to do to build the fight, and of course what he believes will help play some kind of mind games. Now, of course, he tried doing that with Hughie Fury, and I'm not too sure if it worked or not, but he certainly got his own way when he went to the press conference a little bit rat-assed, if you like, getting up in Peter Fury's face, if you like. Well, I say in his face from halfway across the room, saying that, you know, he's got family members on the judging panel, all this kind of thing, or the referee is part of Team Fury. And ultimately, he did get his own way to a point. Now, in this fight, he says that he doesn't want any UK judges or referee or New Zealander either. He wants total neutral ones, but of course he understands that isn't a decision that him or Eddie Hearn can have anything to do with. This is down to the governing bodies and of course the British Boxing Board of Control as well, as to who they put in. So ultimately Eddie Hearn and David Higgins can agree that there should be neutral judges and all this kind of thing, and a referee, which for me I agree with as well. But like I said, it's not down to any of them guys. They can say as much as they like. The British governing bodies will do whatever they're going to do. So, I mean, again, he keeps talking about AJ having a glass jaw, having a glass chin, all this kind of thing, and he's now calling him the glass goose. I mean, come on, let's be serious. I mean, it's one thing to beat somebody up in sparring, because as we all know, a professional boxer will go into the gym, and from time to time, he's not really in the mood for it. As in, he didn't get enough sleep, or he didn't eat the right stuff, he's feeling a little bit lethargic, or he's overconfident, or something. He's not really up for it. But his opponent, when he gets into sparring, is up for it, and especially when your name is Anthony Joshua. So if Joshua walks into the gym one day, not exactly feeling in the mood for it, but his sparring partner's like, excellent, I'm going to fight Anthony Joshua, and I'm going to put it on him, and I'm going to try and get a reputation for myself. This is what's going to happen. Anthony Joshua is going to half-heartedly fight his opponent, and his opponent is going to catch him. And ultimately this happens not just with Joshua, but plenty other fighters throughout all of history. Unfortunately, we don't know a lot of what goes on behind closed doors, but for me, Anthony Joshua getting dropped or even knocked out in sparring, he's not the only person that this happens to. It happens to many, many athletes. Has it happened to Joseph Parker? Well, we don't know that. I mean, they can say it's never happened in sparring. How do we know for a fact that it hasn't? We don't know that because they keep things behind closed doors, and that's pretty much how it should be. The idea of sparring is training. So you're ironing out some of your weaknesses, you're getting used to a certain style, how you're going to be fighting, and of course your opponent will adopt or usually adopt the style of the opponent that you're going to be facing on a live stage. So ultimately, if you're going to get your ass handed to you, that's where you do it. You get it handed to you in the gym and you learn from that, so it doesn't happen on the live night. So him getting dropped by Lawrence Okolie, Joe Joyce, Daniel Dubois, all these kind of guys, and whoever else it may be, big deal. Could any of those do it on the live stage? Not a chance in hell. As of right now, not a chance in hell. Maybe Daniel Dubois in a couple of years' time, maybe, who knows. But right now, you put any of those guys in the ring with Anthony Joshua steams them. And that's just the way it is. So him calling him glass jaw, we've seen no evidence that he's got a glass jaw. He got dropped by a 41-year-old Vladimir Klitschko. Yes, he was 41 years old, but so what? That guy was on form. That guy looked better than he's ever did. He turned back the clock in that fight. And that wasn't down to a bad performance from Anthony Joshua. That was down to the fact that Vladimir Klitschko is an elite fighter. A guy who dominated the heavyweight boxing, who held it by the scruff of the neck for 10 years. That's the guy who dropped Anthony Joshua. The same guy who has knocked out over 50 opponents. That guy is the guy who dropped Joshua. But what happened? Joshua got up and he finished him off. Who else has finished off Vladimir Klitschko? Nobody's finished him. Tyson Fury beat him, but he didn't finish him off. As in, he didn't knock him out, he didn't drop him, he didn't do anything like that. He just outboxed him. Joseph Parker, he's an excellent fighter. We haven't seen the best of him yet, and I do fully expect to see that on against Anthony Joshua. He's not coming there just for the payday, so don't let this percentage thing cloud it in any way. He's coming there with the belief that he's going to win, and if he doesn't win, he's going to go out on his shield. He's that kind of guy where he will give it his all. This is his moment, and he will put everything on the line to try and stop Joshua or beat Joshua in any which way he can. Expect a few dirty tactics from time to time as well. Now, Joseph Parker isn't one for trash talking, and we could see that when he came over to face Hughie Fury. He was very humble, very respectful, and I do kind of expect him to do that with Anthony Joshua, but I think David Higgins is going to try and rile him up a little bit to try and get into the mind of him, which doesn't suit Joseph Parker, because we all know Joseph Parker is actually a nice guy. David Higgins is coming across as a bit of a penis, but I suppose that's the character that he's chose to play, and that's the one he's going to carry on. So the press conference will be very interesting. Drop your thoughts below, click your thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you on next video.